It's
You're saying it's just common sense. It's just true, and I'm saying, well, why? And that the why is going unanswered, which was also what went unanswered when I debated with Professor Kaplan. But I have to head out. I've got to pick up my daughter.
okay. I just wanted to ask you a little quick question here. Like, uh, is all legitimate governmental power derived from the people?
No,
Where does it derive from?
God.
God? You derive all legitimate governmental power from God.
Yeah, you run it far back enough, and people, a democratic situation, a democratic state can be a great apparatus for deciding how to direct a certain society. But that's a process, that's a procedure. The actual source of the authority in the Catholic tradition, and this is not contested in the Catholic Church whatsoever, is God. God is the source of licit authority.
All legitimate governmental power is derived from God, so how do we know what God wants and what doesn't want? And in other words, the only legitimate governmental organizations are theocracies?
No, it's just that just power comes from God. That authority comes from God. Everything does. Everything exists only insofar as it exists in God. Right? So things that are outside of God, negated, are evil, don't exist. Right? Those are synonymous principles. So if there is such a thing as licit governing power, which there is, legitimate governing power, then it has to issue from God because it's good and it exists.
So it doesn't come from the consent of the governed, as
consent of the
our
governed-
so you disagree with our Constitution.
Oh, strongly, yes.
So you think that our Constitution is fundamentally mistaken
Yes.
because consent is irrelevant.
Right. Consent certainly doesn't create licit or legitimate government. If we all consented that we should kill all the firstborns, it would still be wrong and it would be illegitimate.
But we're not talking about killing somebody. We're talking about organizing a government and differentiating
I
a
have to
government.
go pick up my daughter.
Differentiating. Okay, we're talking about differentiating a government that's legitimate from one that's imposed by force or
All
by.
governments are imposed by force, right? I mean, so that's what it is to be a government, is to have a monopoly on force.
Well, that's true, but some governments get the consent of the governed in order to use the force, and others use the barrel of a gun, like Mao Zedong, or like you suggested, God gave me the right to enslave you, like King George would say, or whoever, before we had our Declaration of Independence.
Right, you can misrepresent all kinds of things in these discussions, but I mean, even in democracies, lots and lots of people have to do by consent of the people what they haven't consented to. Half the country voted against Trump, but they still have to do what he says at the barrel of a gun. That's how democracy works, because there is understood to be a legitimate power that exists in the world that is conferred by democratic choice. Democratic choice doesn't create it, it directs it.
No, all it means is that you agreed.
I didn't agree.
No,
I was
wait.
born here.
I'm just trying. I'm in the middle of a sentence.
I have
Oh,
to
the
go to my
people
daughter.
have the people have agreed to create a government.
Right, that is.
Wait a second. No, wait a second. Oh,
She's a
okay.
toddler.
Okay. Well, I'm sure she's very cute if she's like you.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the interview.
Have a good one. I appreciate it. Bye, guys.